Okay, so it's been like 1,000 tries, and there's like no easy way to come into this because it's all kind of boring because it's somebody else's home, right? And you've seen probably a million of these on Facebook and on your social media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not usually a social media person, but I sort of was desperate and clinging, and I needed to get in touch with my closest people. I'm living in Pittsburgh, and I am from the Boston area, and so my closest people really are scattered along the East Coast, and I'm a pretty private person, and so I don't have scads of people all over the place, and in some ways. It's a good thing because I'm used to sort of a more solitary life. So when things like this happen, it's easier for me to be alone. It's okay. It's still hard, especially when we're afraid for the ones we love and we don't really know what's going on. But anyway, I'm going to try to project a little bit. I'm still coughing, so I have some water off to the side, and I'm trying to work through getting my voice back and my breathing. Taking a walk. I was out walking, and people are trying to get out into the outdoors because it's still it's a good thing. And in Pennsylvania, I'm in the east. I'm in the western part, in the Pittsburgh area. But there was a reason that a lot of people, at the turn of the century and things, used to go to areas that were more reclusive and in nature because it's healing. It's healing to sort of remove yourself, even back then when things weren't as teeming with technology and things like that. It still was about sort of moving back to nature and quietness and the whole idea that there's renewal there, there's restoration. So Bedford, I only just discovered Bedford was one of the meccas nationwide and in the world too. So there are springs there that had healing mineral waters, and the air was wonderful, and it's in the mountains, and it's in a valley actually. So anyway, so any place that you can find that you love and it's a resource. So, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for sources of healing. And again, it could be cooking for you. It could be sewing, folding. If you're of the more male persuasion, or somewhere in between, right? We don't need the distinction. I'm female. This is what I do. I'm male. This is what I do. There's a whole spectrum in there. And there's a myriad of things that we do for us that are uniformly us, that give us some kind of some grounding and source. So always returning to that. And I was at my desk trying to work, and I spoke to some folks, and one of them is a very special student and friend, and it happens to be her birthday today. So she's at home with her mom, and they're working off of videos on YouTube, and there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them on YouTube, and I had made one. I think it was like 4 or 5 days ago, and the hope really wasn't about it being a physical practice. It was really because I was also struggling, and it was just about company, company and calm, and just talking. And again, that's the caveat of being alone here by myself. Was that I really didn't have a family, et cetera, to sort of, talk to in person. So, which kind of brings me to the point of if you can, while you're out sort of scrambling and wanting to come and try to have a practice, if you can find a blanket, and I do have like a fleece blanket over there. This is a more formal yoga blanket, but it's going to be really helpful for us. And in the last video, I did talk about some things about clothing, that can bring us discomfort. But there's also the idea that there are clothing, and when clothing can be tight, it can also do the reverse for us. So again, it's about proprioception and sort of determining whether you need compression from a garment. So we're going to use that with our blanket, and we're actually, we might start off that way. So even though it's sunny and quite warm in this room, the idea of sort of cuddling up under a blanket. So just sort of unfold and get that blanket together all around you. So you want to sort of toss it down your back and bring it to cover you, and you want to bring it tightly around your back. So the idea is that you're creating this compression. So really sort of gather it in your hands and draw it across the back, and then sort of wrap your arms in front of you. And one of the things we do in a restorative practice is we can gather it underneath the arm and the chest, and then also do the same. So if we use that idea and sort of carry it through here, and it can be a little cumbersome and weird and awkward, and you're probably trying to figure out, am I doing this right? But create a cocoon. Allow it to sort of draw over the shoulders and feel that tension, right? So wrap yourself up, and I don't really have the compression around my legs. I'm just letting my feet flow freeform forward, so towards you. And the idea that you can sort of slump in the chair, feel the back supported. And if you wanted to, this is an option. If you wanted to, you could gather it around you. If you feel like just in those moments that wasn't enough, that you just really need sort of, if you can't get the touch of a loved one, hugs. I mean, they are so vital at times like these. Sometimes there's just no words. You just need to sort of scramble, to your person or family or friend, and many of us don't have that option. So this is a lovely option. And so it's a reset for our body, a reset for our heart and our emotions. And it's the idea that we're being held, right? Held in space and time. And these moments of extreme unknowing, right? Extreme tension. So just let your legs soften, and you don't want to cut off the circulation with the underside of the chair into the leg. So you might need to bring the feet a little closer to you. Excuse me. And so just letting the head sort of drop down lightly. You don't have to worry about your shoulders. So if we're creating a lot of tension with the arms, you can let some of that go. So just let the arms soften. So the arms are being supported on the body, right, on the blanket, just in these ways, in this formation that it's naturally found. And just start to breathe. So as I'm doing the talking, I can't really let my mouth relax in the way that it needs to. So you would close the eyes if you could, and if the eyes are closed, just sort of get a sense that they're not squeezing shut. So we're trying to take away the portions of tension through the body. So just going through sort of the top to the bottom. And as you do that, get a sense that you've let the scalp relax. So thinking about that territory of the scalp and the perimeter, so along the face, and it sort of dips along the back, right of the neck. And then just letting the breath come. So the mouth opens lightly, or it could be quite a bit. That jaw, right, may really need to sort of sit lower. The tongue kind of just softens and pools in the lower palate of the mouth. And you're just taking the breath in and out. So it might be for you in through the nose, and it's comfortable if you just let it come out of the mouth. Some may just be mouth breathing. So you may have some trouble, some congestion with the weather, right? Warm, cold. You might have allergies. You might have illness that's preventing the breathing through the nose. So just seeing what works for you. You might want to just close the lips. When we do that, it does tend to create a little more tension throughout the mouth. So we're trying to sort of mitigate that. So just doing what you can, and then just observing. So as the conscious mind, right, starts to work to alleviate the tension through the body. So seeing where it's manifesting, right, on sort of the outside part of the body, right, just trying to disengage where you can. So working down from the head to the neck, and that means the inside of the throat and the outside of the neck, and then working towards the top line of the shoulders, moving along the collarbone, and then finding your way into the areas of the armpits, and then just working the levels of the chest, right, and sort of imagining in the mind's eye, right, these areas as we move down the anatomy. So across the chest line, the breast line, moving into the ribs, top to bottom slowly. And you could circle back. So it doesn't have to be strictly in the front of the body. You can take a detour and move to the back, especially if you think about the middle of the shoulders. Excuse me. The underside, so as the shoulder blades, excuse me, sit along the back. I'm going to take a little break. You just work with your shoulders and your chest and your back. Excuse me, it's a little bit jarring and I do apologize. So even though I'm instructing to you, if you were alone doing this, if you had a cough like that or a thought, something that would break the focus for you, it's how to be compassionate with yourself, not get upset and give up, but just try to work to come back to it. So slowly moving down and just assessing where you are today. And so carefully finding the pattern of breath. So the pattern of awareness, and again, it could be constant, with the idea that you're being interrupted by your own thoughts, by your own energetic levels, right? So that's big. And again, not being critical of it, discouraged by it. So our lives are a practice. Every moment is a practice. We are the eternal student, so not letting go of that thought. And then once you've found the gentleness and the ease of the breath, just starting to come to your intention for your practice. So the intention is behind all things that we do, right? And it's important to sort of identify what is important at this time. Our intention lends itself. So it starts as thought. It moves to words and actions. So it's the bedrock of all of these things. And that's why it's important to have the clarity, right? To pick, yes, this is my intention, right? It's not happenstance, although sometimes, right, happenstance can lead us to the intention, right? But to knowingly pick, this is what I want all things to be moving towards, to feed into. And that way, too, you help trim some of the collateral damage, right, that you do throughout your day. So knowing, again, this grounds us, this creates, right, the source, it's the starting point for us. So being mindful of that. And so once we set that, we can choose to, if we want, do a quiet one. We don't have to have our hands together. There can be an internal and then gently just sort of peeling the blanket off, being very careful in how you stir yourself back to life. So it's this idea that once we find this kind of homeostasis, which is at the rest and digest point, that we don't want to do a lot to to ruffle that, especially since we're trying to find a little peace. So we want to move sort of quietly, and again with this foresight, right, and this consciousness, and just sort of let that blanket drift off, and then gently come back to your chair. So we want the feet to come to right angles, and if you're of smaller stature and your feet are sort of coming up a bit from your chair, you want to get a sense that they're level. So some books, it may take a few books. You may have blocks that may help with that, and then just trying to find that matrix, creating the components that work for you, and then finding that your knees are in front of your hip bones, so it's the actual protruding points of the hips, and then kind of creating that line, and then ankles fall under the knees. So I am sitting up in a more straight fashion, so the back comes away from the back of the chair, and you might need to scoot up a little bit away from the back. So if you want to create a little bit of space behind you, and then a little more integrity of form, right? So the body is in a right angle to the thighs, and the calves are at a right angle to the upper legs. So thinking about this more geometric formation, and then again coming back to breath. So in through the nose and out through the mouth. And this time we're going to have our eyes open. We're going to set our eyes on a focal point. So the eyes may be a little more half closed, so the gaze would lower a bit. And again, that sort of informs the nervous system, sort of quiets the mind a little more, softens, so it's not that high tension, where we're sharply focused. So again, have the idea of what is the quality of my gaze? What is the quality of my breath, my presence? And how does that influence the physical? So where the mental influences the physical. And just noticing. So I'm struggling a bit with my coordination this morning, and you might notice that too. Just where it's a little bit not as on point. Again, not being critical. It is what it is. Any given day is different, right? So just working with what you have. So our mental acuity, our physical acuity, it's all been compromised. None of us are sleeping quite well, if at all. So again, allowing yourself to have this softness in perception. And so deepening the breath now. So fixing the gaze, deepening the breath, bringing the breath in through the nose, filling the lungs. So getting a sense that from the top of the chest down, right, we're sort of fanning out things. And then as we exhale, let the breath sort of dump gently into the lower belly. And then next breath in, bringing the breath out of the lower belly. So sort of closing the lower portion of the body and squeezing the breath out and up. And then as you exhale, feeling the handing off of the breath down into the lower belly. So just working with this sort of back and forth. And then as you do that, this idea of creating symmetry as you do it. So as you bring it up, trying to fill both halves, and as you exhale, trying to do the same. And as you hand them off, trying to get a sense, is there this nice kind of balanced effort, right? One side is always less adept. So how does this happen? It's quite hard if we focus on that idea of symmetry, right? And trying to get the other side back up to speed, right? And it may be about slowing it down or not quite the broadness of effort, right? So how do we not try to exploit in quite this big way that we tend to like to do? Has to be the same. No, it does not. We're working towards that. So just working with that. And then letting that go. Let that go. And just again, sort of regulating, finding that gentler pattern of breath and noticing where perhaps you feel a little compromised. Maybe you feel a little bit dizzy. That took a lot of effort. Breathing is a lot of work. And if we think about, we don't use the full effort that we could use. So we tend to be these species or these beings of less breath. Life takes the breath out of us, right? It's really a struggle not to have bodies in front of us as teachers, so not being able to see these things come into full manifestation in our students. So that is a challenge. It is a challenge not to drift off. So letting that go. And then now working to come into so more of an active practice. So again, just getting a sense that my legs haven't drifted off to the side, and if they have, just bring them back. No commentary, and then letting your hands come out to the side. So rolling the shoulders into a broader stance, maybe anchoring the shoulder blades a little more to the back, right? So getting a sense that you've opened the wings up a little bit more. You might feel some more space from the inside of the armpit all the way down. And just noticing the internal line of the arm, right, all the way down to the thumbs. Just noticing how they're different, right? So one arm may be turning in a different fashion. So just noticing that, getting a sense of the hands on the chair, and then start to spread the fingers. So lengthening the fingers, activating the fingers as well. And then as you draw the thumbs and the pinkies long, trying to separate each finger from the other, getting a sense, letting the thumbs and the pinkies sort of inform you a little bit about the crease of the wrist. So where the hand attaches to the forearm. Again, the idea of about what is different left versus right. And so as we're going to do that, we want to move to the head a bit. So letting the chin drop a little lower than the corner of the jaw and getting a sense from ear to ear that it feels like our head is level. So the earlobes are level, the jawline is level, right? And then on an inhale, start to gently and equally let the hands start to rise. And just find a place and space that feels comfortable. We don't want any impact on the shoulders right now. So we don't want to force the arms up. And we're going to take an inhale and let the shoulders sort of drop down a little more and let the fingertips reach out to the sides. So actively spreading the fingers, fixing our gaze. So we want the gaze to be a little more level now. And so taking a breath into the breast line, and then as we exhale, gently letting the breath draw out. Inhale, we might pick the navel center up a little bit, and then as we exhale, draw the navel center down and inward, letting the chest deflate. And again, inhale and then exhale, release. That's good. So let the shoulders drop. And again, kitty cat, middle kitty cat likes to join in and sort of sing for us in the background. And then turn the hands forward. So the palms are facing forward. And so many folks, many teachers are using some music in the background. I have not been using music because, first of all, The music that I would like to use, I would have to get permission or the rights to use that. And quite honestly, I'm in a cash slump right now, as probably all of you are. So I don't want to cheat any artists from their rightful royalties. And also, it's a distraction. It's a distraction. So let's keep our palms facing forward. And you might be noticing this is quite a drain on your system right now. So, where are you feeling it? So, fix your gaze again now. And I want you to spread the fingers if you can, as much as possible. And I want you to think about the effort of the spreading to come from the back of the hand. Okay, so your knuckles aren't locked. So, what is that like energetically when we think about using the back of the hand to spread the fingers and breathe? So, as we're spreading fingers, we want to create this nice horizontal axis line of the arms. And keep breathing. And again, focus now. Focus. Think about this non existent counter that is underneath these arms, if it could be. Right? And we're going to use the mind because we know the power is in the mind. And we really visualize that form. So as you do that, really imagine that you feel the body, right, touching that counter line. And as you do that, try to give away a little bit of the effort of the shoulders and the biceps in supporting. And Hera's going to sing us into this idea. Yes, she's going to make the music to make that counter line appear. And then gently on the exhale, let's let our hands find one another, but not quickly. Not quickly. And we're just going to sort of revel in this idea that there has been that sweet release. And so as we let the fingers just sort of have some space between them, we're going to offset the hands just a little bit so that fingers can interlace. And again, a soft gaze. We don't want to be squeezing the hands as we gently fold the fingers over. And my forearms are gently resting at the front of my chest. So if you would do that as well, and then you can feel again the support of the arms, right, as they feel the chest and the body. They're not hugging, but it's that gentle idea that they're being supported. And so without creating any kind of tension in the hands, I want you to think about grounding gently the left foot without activating your toes. So think about where the foot is naturally touching. Again, if you start to activate the toes, stop pressing. Stop pressing, decrease, and just gently find that edge where you can press the left foot down. Feel it start to activate the leg, right? Where you, yes, you feel the energy move up the calf. So there's some effort in the calf where it feels like it's starting to contract a little bit. And then you feel, right, the muscle on the thigh starting to work against the bone of the left thigh. Okay? And then gently, I want you to think about grounding and sort of rooting with your sits bones. And then slowly on an inhale, start to lift. So just lightly levitate that right foot and gently start to extend the right foot, right? And as you do that, you must be present for the knee, right? So you must be there for the knee and not force the knee to be in any uncomfortable position. And then slowly on an exhale, I want you to bring that leg very, very slowly, right? That right leg back down. And so I want you to hover for a moment before you bring it down. I should have said that. And then gently let it meet the ground. So I want you to be aware the whole time as the foot and the surface of that right foot starts to touch. It's not a quick just letting go. It's a gentle offering, letting it slowly, entirely start to rest. And then I want you to let the left leg go, right? So the engagement is gone, right leg engagement is gone. And then slowly, I want you to start at the fingertips and bring the energy of the fingers to ignite slowly, right? As you start to hug the fingers against the hand. That's all. I don't want you to press the hands. Just stay with that. Now, with that pressing, I want you to activate too the thumbs and the pinkies. Okay, so it's hugging the hand, but again, can you do it without the forcing of the hands against one another? It's quite a bit harder. And then gently take away the energy again. So start at the fingertips, take away that energy, come to the breath, take the energy out of the legs. They might have started a little bit to help ground you. So just noticing now the breath. And we're going to bring the breath into the chest, and we're going to try to have the chest push where it feels the arms, just a little bit. And then on the exhale, take that energy back and slightly draw the chest backwards so that you feel just a little curving of your lower spine, your mid back. And then inhale again into the chest. And then exhale, take it away. Okay? And then gently just sort of widen your shoulders again, level them, maybe correct the head if it naturally it tends to dip on one side. So again, trying to get a sense that it feels from corner of jaw to corner of jaw like it's level, right? Chin is a little lower than corner of jaw. Jaw, corners of jaw. Okay? And then fix your gaze. Again, soften, come back. If you've been preoccupied, notice if you feel engaged across the upper back. So just again, notice where you feel too much happening. And then start again. Give yourself permission. That right foot, see if you can do it evenly. So again, we want to do this so that the toes aren't going to start to get engaged. Press down, and then again, subtract again, because it goes haywire pretty quickly, right? Ego wants to take over. It thinks it knows everything. All right, so you've got that engagement. You've got something happening in the calf, something happening in the thigh. Get those sits bones, right, to start to root down. That brings the pelvis and the lower back into a straighter line a bit. And then here we go again. So now we have to have this sort of, this floating, first on the inhale of the left foot, and then the lengthening. Okay, so it's a slow inhale. Yes, shaking happens, right? And then as you exhale, again, slowly, slowly. So as the foot moves slowly through space, it hovers for a moment. It senses the earth beneath it. And then gently, so you feel bit by bit, right, it starts to feel the ground. It doesn't just, it's not a total surrender. And then slowly, so as you're releasing in the left foot, everything is decreasing as well in the right leg. So to anchor, it's letting go. And now here, we're going to try again to create some compression in the hands. But this time, excuse me, it's going to start with the hands as they touch. So add that element of press, press, press. And as we do that, we want to invite the shoulders to come along. So you do feel them light up, right? So allow that, and then see if you can sort of keep them from rising up. So follow the energy from the head of the shoulder into the bicep, and you can invite the biceps. Feel it move into the elbows, and you could feel that sort of contraction and the flexion of the lower arm, right? And then invite it. So it's this live wire running from the hands, and you can invite the fingers, right? So we want to let this go. And here lies some of what we need to let go. So, you know, we've had a lot on us. And so, man, what's been eating at you perhaps this day since you woke up? Just funneling all of that into that, right? And breathing. So the real trick, how do we breathe through this? So we have this massive sort of hemorrhage happening, right? This emotional upheaval going on, right? But how do we keep this beautiful, again, the eye of the storm is with the breath, the calm. It's the balance, the middle, and then releasing that. So now, letting things move apart. Let's shake, 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 shake. So we're shaking a lot of that. And we have to let that go. Like, are we willing to let that go? Right? Words, things that, you know, just were sticking in us. Right? You have that power. Right? But the idea is, are you willing? Right? Forgiveness is ours. It's not someone else's. It's not for them to hold over us, right? It's us to do that to ourselves. So are we willing? And then hands up. Perhaps close your eyes. And I want you to feel the weight now in the hands. So the idea about the weight of what we carry. And then slowly breathe that away. Right? So with each exhale, feeling the breath, just sort of scatter that. Right? It breaks it up, the worry, the fear. We've all got the fear. And so we are unified. We all have this solidarity in this idea that these things are happening. They're happening to all of us. None of us are unique that way. So unifying through the breath, and again, it's that idea that we can sort of be the one, right, to determine how this impacts us. We can't control what's happening, but we can work on damage control if we wish. If we work, right, the practice, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. Okay. So let's bring our hands to heart center. Okay, find some breath. So just getting a sense that as the hands meet, what is the relationship? So again, sort of lessening if one is pushing, just noticing. So they want to meet, right, with neutrality. A good idea for us all, right? And then just leveling the shoulders. See if you can level the hips. So bring a little bit more neutrality to the pelvis by drawing down with the sits bones. Excuse me. And then getting a sense, you don't even have to look. So finding that area, that notch, where the elbows feel like they're lifted, that they're separated. So there's length in the forearm. There's an idea of broadness across the back, right? And it's also that idea that countertop, right? That support system is there under the arms. So there is grace, right, as we do this. So we can let go in some other areas. Are we trusting? Are we believing in the fact that there are things that we cannot see around us supporting us? Right? That is the power of the universe. It is the power of love, right? Knowing that love does not end. It does not end with the ones that we've loved over a lifetime who've gone to a different place, but still are here. Right? So, find a breath. Lengthen. Create space. Big breath in. And on the exhale, slowly go to the right side. So, we're gently rotating. And what we want to do is we want to find a position, right? So, we've turned to a degree. We haven't turned to the furthest notch. In fact, let's do that again. Let's erase that, right? Inhale, come back to center. So with this knowledge that we're going to turn to the right side, we're going to firm the lower belly now, a little more heartily. And when we do take the breath, that's for the twist, I'll let you know when, we're going to do it from the waist, okay? And so we're going to try to keep the integrity of the lower body, and we're going to add the feet anchoring a little bit more. And so again, we're not going to add the stress of the toes curling. So can we create some support in the foot? Have it, right? Give the signal up to the legs, get them working a bit. Have it, root in the seat a bit, right? Create the length and the broadness, the stability to the waist, so that we can rotate from the waist, create the opening, the heaviness of the shoulders, not extremeness, okay? So here we go. Take a big breath in. We can lengthen the fingers a little more, maybe bring them together. And on the exhale, use pressure of the hands gently to find the rotation, right? So stay in this rotation and notice if your elbows are a little sloppy. So again, where's that countertop? Notice again, shoulders, right? One might be a little uneven. So work on an inhale. Think about the spine lengthening. Think about the point at where the angle is happening, the twist. And on the exhale, press a little more through the hands to open the shoulders. Inhale, lengthen. And on the exhale, with the outside of the right shoulder and the right arm, see if you can't lead just incrementally, right? And then find a breath, exhale it out. Inhale, lengthen one more time, even if it doesn't happen. The idea that we're working towards that, fixing the gaze. And then breathe here, breathe here. And again, if you can, get a sense of the relationship of the space around the body. So if these two components, right, the space you take up and the space around you, so there's a relationship there. So think about lightness between the two. And then inhale, come back to center. Breath in, breath out. Inhale, lengthen, get a little taller. Exhale, draw the front of the body to the back of the body. Take a breath in. And exhale again. Okay, so prepare. So we're going to take a breath in and we're going to do the same thing on the left side. Exhale, beginning to lengthen the fingers. Exhale. So first, finding that first angle, right? And it's not the full Monty right away. So taking a breath in, lengthening, sort of arranging, exhale, get everything sort of settled and even if you can. And then take a breath in, anchor both legs, seat, exhale again, finding, if you can, the idea that you're going to try to rotate a little bit further with outside of left shoulder, outside of left arm, still grounding. Breath in and out. Breath in, exhale again. And then one more time, inhale and exhale. And then stay here. So breathing in. And again, think of the inside of that column, of that vertical axis, from the crown of the head to the root. Exhale it out. Take another breath in, press the hands, and exhale back to center. Take a breath in, and we're going to do that without stopping it at each point. Exhale to one side. Inhale back to center. Exhale to left. So again, we're working, like as I like to say, Lego people. Inhale back to center and exhale from the waist. Inhale back to center. Exhale to left side. One more time each side. Inhale, nice long collarbone. Make sure you're not gritting the teeth. Exhale to right. Inhale to center. Exhale to left. Excuse me. Inhale to center. Inhale, gently let the hands stop the pressing. Up. And exhale, let the hands separate, palms out. Hands gently beat again. Inhale, center. See if you can keep the head fairly sedentary and pointing forward. Palms rotate. So maybe the pinkies try to rotate back. So experiment a bit with how the hands rotate between the thumbs and the pinkies. See what works. So we want to try to get sort of, again, this idea that we're gentle testing the edge. How about trying to speak sense, Liz? I text this way too. Exhale. And then let's add a bit of a twist. Inhale, and on the exhale, right? Sort of moving through space. Inhale up, and exhale. Inhale up, and exhale. Really get a sense there's a nice broad reach. Inhale up, and exhale. And sometimes the head finds the rotation first. So isn't it interesting? So see what organically happens with you. Inhale up, and exhale. And then one more time, back to center. Inhale up and then go forward. Palms facing each other. Exhale. Gentle with the spine. And then sort of create a nice long reaching spine. So kind of a tabletop back here. And notice the feet. So feet kind of pointing forward. If you'd like to bring your blocks under each hand, that works. So sort of flattening the hands. So this is nice. Again, if you're smaller in stature, some books will work well. Excuse me. I have super long arms. I'm going to use my pinky, not just my pinkies, but my fingertips, and sort of bend the knuckles. So we don't want, again, a lot of jarring on the knuckles. So if you're able to go flat with the hands, otherwise, fingertips, again, hard time with words. So crown of the head, top of the head is reaching forward, and the tail is reaching back. And then again, move from west to east. So left shoulder sort of broadens, kind of rotates out a bit. That's our external rotation. And right shoulder, same deal. So think about the context of this north to south, west to east, and bring the breath. So broadening the body, excuse me, and sort of scouting out, right? So these points, and then every point, every stop along the way. So the cylinder of the body, watching right carefully how things sort of change with the inhale and the exhale. And when you inhale, do you feel the capacity on each side? And as you exhale, can you sort of float the breath around so there's crowding amongst the lower body? So in the organs, in the digestive tract. So this sense that things are living on the inside, right, and trying to impact them. Trying to work out some of the malaise that's been going on, right, with this fear living in our guts, living in our hearts. And again, how do we create the healing, the rejuvenation? How do we create the idea of this resourcefulness, right? To sort of let these parts, letting the fascia of our body relax. It wraps around everything in our body. And then gently, let's bring our hands to our shins and then have them slide to the tops of the front and tops of the knees and the thighs. Draw down with the hands, bring the elbows in so that the arms are close to the body, so hugging the body. Thumbs are on the insides of the legs. Let the fingertips come to touch the body again. And so now on the inhale, I want you to draw the belly in and press a bit with the hands as you come up. All right? And so you may have some dizziness as you reorient. So let's inhale. Thumbs to the back as the palms face one another. Exhale, forward, palms to the ground. Sweep along the earth. Palms reach to the back and inhale, rocking the hands back up. Gaze forward. Exhale back. Arms get level with the body, or they may reach around and up to the back, and inhale, floating up again. So rocking in this arc, forward and back, and exhale down. So thinking about the plane of the arms, they try to sort of stay in the same plane as the side of the body. So sweeping along, and maybe you have this real kind of broad, almost as if you could, like a 360-degree sweep of the arms. Exhale. Letting the head drop between the knees a bit. So creating this locomotion with the breath. And you can get gusty, and if it's all right and you don't feel dizzy, you can hold the breath at the top. And then in a gust, exhale, let it all out. Keep the breath out at the bottom of the breath and wind it up. Inhale again. The gaze may go up and exhale down. And then release. Come on back, hands to the corners of the chair. Excuse me, that was a big, rude kind of breath. Gently, with your hands to the chair, let your legs one by one reach out and then down. And then let's scoot so that we feel the back of the chair sort of at the crest of the back of the hip. And take some breath in. So we're going to root down with our seats bones, and that's going to automatically draw our lower belly in. I have to stop shouting. My neighbors may hear me. They're not into yoga. That would help if they were, but not so much. So we'll just be in the know in here. So again, gently, let's lead with one leg, and then let the other leg follow, and then the leg we led with comes back down. Okay, so let's ascribe the breath. Inhale forward, both legs. Exhale down, both legs. Inhale forward, both legs. Exhale down, both legs. And then one more time. Inhale forward. This is 4 times. And then exhale down. And then find some breath. On an inhale, I want you to draw your arms in. These are like push-up arms, right? So it's really strong. I want you to grip the chair, push down, and on an inhale, press down into the feet. Draw your lower belly in and down. Okay, so it's a seated push-up. Inhale, pressing down, drawing your pelvis up, and it's a little bit of a crunch with the belly. And then exhale down. And then one more time. Inhale, rocking into the feet, really resisting pushing the chair away, and then coming down. And then let's do that again with the inhale and the exhale as we lift the legs, but starting with the opposite leg. So reaching, and you can stretch the toes. You can have some nice extension of the toes. And then again, exhale, down and down. Inhale, reach, reach. Exhale, down, down. Inhale, reach, reach. Exhale, down, down. One last time. Inhale, reach, reach. Exhale, down, down. And then here we go, push up. And again, see if you can bring those arms in. Really try to now do as much as you can with the legs. Not with the legs, with the arms. Not enough sleep. Inhale. Try to keep it all in the arms and down. And then again, you're really using that lower belly. Inhale. As if you were just sort of hanging in space. And exhale down. Release that. Inhale up. And exhale. Reaching over. Good. Finding breath. Inhale. Coming on back up. So let's scoop to the back. And again, feeling the lower back just sort of scoring the chair a little bit. So you should just feel that sensation that it's against the chair. And then I want you, if you can, to quite strongly draw that lower belly in. So you start to feel the pubic bone sort of roll up a bit and inward. Okay? And then bringing the legs to more of right angle legs. Okay, so drawing the belly in again. Don't lose that. And then on an inhale, bringing the right leg or the left, it doesn't matter which one, with the, as you can see me, with the right ankle, high ankle, right on the leg, if you can do this, okay? If you can't do this, you're welcome to extend the front leg out and try more of a crossover. So that counts 2. And sometimes it's about putting the block in front of you, right, on its high side, and it's this kind of thing. So it's getting a bit of that stretch into your lower pelvis area, right? Piriformis, I was looking for the word. It's been a lot harder with my words after I was sick, so it's been a long recovery, and sometimes my words don't come quite as easily, and of course we've all had not a lot of sleep, so there's that too. Okay, so as you're up here, you're gently leaning forward If your block is on the floor, you're trying to create that angle. And you may want to use the assistance of the chair, the hands along the side of the chair. And if you try to bring the arms to the body a little closer, it helps with keeping the shoulders a little bit broader. So we still try to always apply that theorem of we want to keep the body broad, we want to keep the planes of the body level if we can, especially if we're not in a rotation or something like that. So the front body and the back body, right? Nice even planes. And then just breathing again. So, and just, right, minimizes the sense that breathing should just be easy, right? No, it's not easy here because we feel a lot of sensation. And so what we don't want, and I'm doing this, is I'm bending my ankle up. We don't want that. We want the pinky toe to reach towards the outer kneecap. Okay. So if your foot was on the block, demonstrate. So keep breathing through that, all you other folks, and you could put it on its high edge or on the low edge. It's the idea that you want to sort of activate the ankle so that the ankle isn't bending. And again, the idea that that right pinky toe is reaching towards the outside of the right knee. Okay? And then take a breath in. Gently let that leg go off of the block and off of the leg. All right? And then gently bring that right leg out to your side. So you might scoot off to the right side a little bit more and create a nice tight flexion with that right leg. You might even flex the foot a little bit so that the toes are pulling towards the shin. And just see how that feels. And then come back onto the chair a bit more and bring that leg now higher up, interlocking fingers and drawing the leg to you. So to the degree that you can. So the leg may not even be to you, as much as I was. So again, it's the story that you tell yourself in your head, right? And some of us do actually form the words, which is even more of a horror, right? To say that to ourselves. I was reading something because I was looking for my own kind of reinforcements this morning because it is hard to get out of bed, right? Even with the sun shining, it's just so hard to face another day of this. So letting that go, okay. And you might wiggle the foot a little bit and get some kind of moving of that knee in the sense that the thigh is trying to roll a little bit, but it's not. Clearly, I talk with my hands as well. All right, and then let that go. And then come back to your right ankle legs and again, sort of find the back of the chair for a little more stability, engaging the lower core, using your hands as we draw up the left leg. And we know, again, this could be your bad leg. So this idea that no part of us is bad, right? And if we need to use the block on this side, this is what we do. So my foot, I just saw it, and I don't know if you guys paid attention, but I sort of scurried it over because it wasn't back under my knee where it should be. So kind of get that right unruly foot to sort of stay the ankle under the knee, pointing forward, and then again here we create this form that works for us on this side. It doesn't have to be the same as what was on the other side. Now, I want to bring your attention to the sits bones. So you are probably uneven with them, so try to draw down where you can, and again, not creating pain. So the idea about harm, we want to keep that at the forefront of our mind. We want to do just enough so that it feels like we're using our guidelines, we're using a measure of some form, but it may not happen. So again, straightening the ankle, breathing here now. So finding the breath, the regulation of the breath, maybe taking your hand off of the knee because for some of us that's pain, and then beginning, right, that sort of folding over. So finding the edge, taking a breath in, exhale, moving into the fold, right? Darn that right foot. And so breathing. And so again, trying to sort of maximize the idea that the breath is what's key, right? Again, trying not to sort of wander in our thoughts, right? We're trying to stay present. Knee, the right knee sort of wants to drift off. So again, between that right ankle and right knee, right foot right knee. We need to do what we can. Pulling the pinky, the left pinky toe towards the outside of the left knee. And again, you may have it on the block. And then finding breath, right? And then if you can, scooting a bit forward and over to the left side, and then again, bringing that leg to create a nice flexion, right? Coming together where you can, and again, you can flex the foot or not. And for some of us, we might like to draw it back more. It feels good. So play around, see what works for you. And if you want to do little circles, I didn't do that obviously on the other side, but you could do that. So again, just seeing what works and then bringing that leg forward. And again, it's sort of letting it kind of work its kinks out. Play around with it. And then I'm going to bring my blanket back. And this is an opportunity again. If you want to wrap it around you, you can. You can fold it. I don't want to waste time with that, but I want you to fold it and sort of just put it on your chair so that you can feel like it's a little bit lush or a lot lush back there. And if you want to put it under your seat, you can do that. I have a metal chair. It's quite uncomfortable, right? So just noticing what makes us uncomfortable. And again, in our day-to-day, where we can mitigate, where we can sort of alleviate these things that we shouldn't have to be subjected to, right? But there are things that's life, right? And the distinction, right, of need versus want, which is paramount, All right, so now coming to the end of the practice, and this idea again about the intention, coming back to the intention, beginning to release the breath. And I should have offered, of course, Shavasana. So I'm on my mat. So if you would like Shavasana, excuse me, the blanket makes me cough with all the fibers. Come into the Shavasana. And so if you are in Shavasana, you would release and let all of the limbs relax, bringing the arms and legs further apart from the body, from one another. Hands would roll up. If you wanted to put something under the head, you could. You would let the mouth disengage, and we do that when we're sitting too. So closing the eyes. And if there was a bedroom that you were in, you could lay on the bed. So there's no impetus to say that anything there's no sense that anything you choose at this point that does not give you comfort is the wrong thing. It's the right thing. And if you want to crank a little bit of something on for yourself that helps, again, ease this release process for you, then please do that. And so coming back again to the sense that breath is moving through the body. The allowing of the bones to relax, the ligaments and muscle fibers that support and work these processes of movement, of elasticity. So allowing them, giving them, again, that forgiveness. It is okay. You are off the job now. And this idea that I am off the job. My job is to take care of myself in the best ways that I can. To not turn my back when I know that I need to do something differently. I need to do something differently for my own self-preservation. And sometimes, right, that means saying no. A lot of times that means saying no. So I give myself permission to fall apart as the world falls apart. And it is together through our breath and our own belief systems that we again will come together in a new way, with a new drive for what matters. We must attend and kindle the fires of hope. We must not let them go out, ever. Each and every one of us is part of that kindling, part of the heat of that fire. Let that thought keep you strong and light your way. And when you are not strong alone, let it light the way for you to reach out. Gently coming to your seat, rolling on a side, finding the breath, and bringing hands to heart center. Taking your time, shaking off things, closing the eyes. You can take your own om. I'm actually going to take an internal om. Finding breath. Breath in and exhale. Thank you for sharing the practice, but most of all, thank you for taking care of yourself and attending to your needs.